We are now two-thirds through my toll-free program, Happy and VetMed, and I am really happy with how it's going. The participants are also really happy. And I think I've really noticed is the difference it makes that I have created videos and worksheets for them to work on every week. So some are not doing them in time, others are, some are a bit behind, but in general, I feel that they are really, really applying it. So I am gonna give away this course to whoever signs up for me individual coaching. They're just gonna get it separately, and they can work on the things that that they need working on most, which we will plan out in the free consult, right? So if you come to a free consult with me, we take an hour where we look at where you are, what's going on for you. We kind of find your patterns and what are the things you need most to work on. Is it like time management? Is it boundaries? Is it your self-confidence? Is it imposter syndrome? What is it you need to work on most? And we make a plan for that. And then if you sign up for me with me, what I'll do is I'll send you the course and say, look, do week X, Y, and Z first and do the worksheets because this will really help you get all the information. I've kind of assumed that when people come to coach with me, for some reason they have absorbed everything I teach, so all my podcast episodes and everything on my post. But of course, a lot of you haven't. So I will say something in the consult and I'm like, well, you just need to set some boundaries. And they're like, what? How do I do that? So that's definitely something I'm going to offer now. So if you were considering signing up for one-on-one coaching with me, now you have that extra bonus, which is having all the materials from this course included in your private coaching with me. Anyway, one of the things that I have worked on with one of my vets in the course is boundary setting, which has been a big thing for her. And there's a few tools that I've realized I could use with her and that I want to share with you guys if you are trying out boundaries yourselves and you're struggling with them. So first of all, I would love to know how you are doing with your boundary setting. If that's something you tried after you started listening to me or saw some of my posts, or maybe just you read a book about it and now you're trying. So how is it going and where you might be failing? That would be really cool to know. And so just reach out to me on social media or anywhere and just say, I'm trying boundaries and it's just not going that well, and why might not be going that well. And then there's a few things I want to point out after now coaching somebody intensely on boundaries for over 2 months is that when you set boundaries, you need to understand that it's like riding a bike. It's like learning to ride a push bike, which means that it's not going to be pretty in the beginning. It's going to be incredibly wobbly. It's like people are laughing at you and saying like, well, she's already not done that before. And imagine if you hadn't learned it as a kid. I mean, that I know people that have actually not learned to ride a push bike as a kid. And now it's really scary, right? Because now we know what falling over, what the consequences are. Well, as a kid, you just go with it and then you get really surprised when you scrape your knees. But now we have tried so many things that we understand the risks. And setting boundaries is a bit the same. It's because we're older and we kind of assume we should know to do this already. And we also know the consequences a bit more about the consequences when we make people disappointed, or we might make people angry, or people might get upset with us. And we know the discomfort that comes up with that, which makes it even harder for us. So a lot of us think that setting boundaries should just be, say, for example, if somebody is asking you to do an extra shift and you don't really want to do it, it's just like, now I learned how to, I need to set boundaries. I should just do that. And you go like, no, I don't want to do the shift. So thank you very much. And then you should feel fine because now you learn to set boundaries. You're setting boundaries and you should feel great about it. No, you won't feel great because your brain is going to freak out about this other person being disappointed, about letting them down. You're going to tell yourself all these stories. And so that is the first thing you need to know is setting boundaries, it's going to feel uncomfortable. And what I taught my vet is that you gotta know what discomfort feel like in your body. So we actually sat and did the feeling exercise that you can find in one of the other podcasts, but it's basically you sit down and you do a body scan and you find out how you're feeling in that moment. And then you need to visualize you saying no to this person and feel how that feels in your body. So very typical is, a tight chest and not in your stomach, or your throat closes out because your body is like literally trying to stop you from saying no. And once you have that feeling, just hold on to it and just feel it and realize it's literally just discomfort and it won't kill you. It's not dangerous in any way or form. It just feels like it, right? So accept that that feeling doesn't mean that anything has gone wrong. It just means that you're doing something new and that it's normal, that it feels wobbly, that it feels uncomfortable, that you feel like everybody is going to look at you differently and think you're weird, just as if you were about to ride a push bike for the first time down Manhattan. So that's the first thing. The second thing you need to know is that just like you first learn to ride a push bike with your little stabilizers on the side, and in the beginning it feels like I will never be able to take the stabilizers off. I will forever have, three wheels on my back, on the back, two little wheels on the main wheel because I cannot see how I'm gonna take them off. You will eventually take them off, but you might want to have them in the beginning to not hurt yourself. This translates into boundaries, could be you having some support with your boundaries. So, if, for example, you know that somebody's going to ask you to do a shift, you already know in advance, and you're already worried about how you're going to say no, you can have the stabilizer of planning something that day. You could plan to go to the cinema with your loved one. You could plan, you promise your kids to go somewhere. You could plan whatever it is you want to plan, book a table at a restaurant. So if you know in advance that somebody's going to ask you to do something, that this will come up, and you know that you're going to struggle saying no, have the stabilizer of having something else planned, or do not be near where you can actually say yes. So you can practice saying no, in this case over the phone, for example, no? So you can practice saying no, and you got a good reason for it. Where in the past, you might even have canceled that restaurant, or you might even have canceled going to the cinema because you were so eager to help and you're so worried about saying no. So you could potentially still say yes. So you are still actively setting a boundary where you could say yes, but you're saying no, but you have that little extra support in your back of, I know I got something else. So you can still like, I got a good reason, right? So that is like your little stabilizer to build up the courage and to build up knowing that, feeling that discomfort in your body when you're saying no. And when you see people get disappointed, it's like, I made them disappointed by saying no. That feeling in your body, you will still have that even if you have a good reason to say no, but you can then let go of all the other feelings of like, I have no reason to say no, so I feel bad about it. And you don't have yet you haven't built up the courage yet to say no properly without giving any reasons. And this is the second, third, I don't know. I've said a few things now. Another tool I want to give you is that you should know that you don't have to give any reasons behind setting a boundary. Because that is something I've seen, and a few vets I've coached now about boundaries, is that we feel we have to say no because, and then there's this long explanation. And we even plan ahead what we're going to say. Well, next time they say this, I'm going to say no because, and we're making up excuses. And that does take a lot of your authority away from you. And it just makes it harder and harder to say no, because now every time you have to have a really good excuse and you have to plan what you're going to say. And you're kind of like replaying this conversation in your head, and you're making their opinion very important for your brain. So even though you can use the stabilizers in the beginning, you also need to practice saying no and not give any reason. So for example, for smaller things, no, small things that are not so important, you're not going to feel that bad about saying no to. For example, if a friend says, "Oh, do you want to come to this concert?" and it's not a big deal, but you might have said yes in the past just because you want to please them, or you might have said no in the past, but with some long excuse about you had planned something else and it's actually not true. Then practice saying, "No, I don't fancy it," or "No, I don't want to." And then start applying that at work as well. So if somebody say, "Oh, could you take this extra consult?" or "Could you do this extra shift?" or the owners want you to do something you want to do it, you can just say, "No, I don't want to." You don't have to give excuses. You don't have to give a reason for setting a boundary. So if a client, for example, wants you, the famous, give it metronidazole because it's got diarrhea and you don't want to, you can just say, that is not, we don't do that anymore. and they can go and find out why. Because you're going to take up the discussion, and they're going to argue with you, and you can say, "We just don't do that anymore. It's not ethical, or it's not in accordance with the rules about antibiotics." And you don't need to go into a long tale about how antibiotic resistance is dangerous and like give this long explanation. Just a really short, "I'm not doing this." To a client, you have to be a bit more polite. So maybe you have to say it's not ethical, or it's been proven it's been proven it doesn't have any effect, or it goes against our antibiotic rules, and then just stop there, and then just no. And if the client pushes you and doesn't want to take no for an answer, you need to fire that client, because they shouldn't be asking you to do something that goes against your not like what is really right, right? And specifically, I think the boundaries are probably harder to set against colleagues and bosses when they ask us to do something. And that is where you definitely don't have to give reason of setting a boundary, Or for example, if you have out of vet med, if you have a partner that shouts at you and that makes you feel uncomfortable, or you have a friend you go out with and they get really drunk and you don't want to be with them when they're drunk, you don't have to get any reason. You can just say, okay, so when you have more than 3 tequila shots, I'm just gonna go home, just let you know. Um, and if somebody shouts at you, you could say like, "I don't really want people shouting at me, so I'm just going to leave the room now until you stop shouting." And you don't need to start explaining, "I get really triggered when people shout at me. You make me feel like this. You shouldn't shout." Just like, "No, I'm setting this boundary right now." And I don't like, because everybody don't think the same things, and we don't all have the same need to set boundaries for the same things. So you can't always explain boundaries to others and expect them to understand. So one vet I was coaching was having struggles um, planning the rota in advance. So she really wanted to know, she's a partner in a bigger clinic, and she wants to plan the rota in a way that she knows when her shifts are. But the other vets working there, they don't really care. I mean, I personally could not live without knowing when my shifts are, when I work nights and this and the other. But they were okay with it, and she wasn't. So she kept wanting to change them, wanted to change the whole thing they were doing, and she just couldn't get them to do it. And in the end, and she was going on holiday, and she was getting really stressed because they hadn't sorted the rota out. And I said, like, "Well, why don't you just plan your own rota? You put in, these are the days I'm going to work, and that's just it. And then they will have to work around it, right? Because they don't care." And she did that, and she went on holiday. And lo and behold, she did see in the group chat that there was a lot of drama around who was going to do what when, but it had nothing to do with her because she had planned her rota. And that's it, like, especially with boundaries as well, just hits home how you can't change other people, you can't force other people to do things, but you can certainly do what you want to do. You can plan your way, and you can say no, or you can say, "I'm doing it this way," if they don't want to play, in whatever's reasonable, no. And it just goes to show like how important it is to feel with yourself what feels right to me. Okay, so these people over here, they don't agree, and I don't need to change them, but them not agreeing doesn't mean that what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking is wrong. It just means that they have a different perspective, and that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to do my thing. And also, if your boss thinks that it's a great idea to ask you to do extra shifts and want you to work for less money or whatever it is, them thinking that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. If you feel uncomfortable saying no to them, it doesn't mean that it's wrong to say no. It just means that you're a bit wonky setting boundaries. See the difference? There's something else I wanted to say. So I've said setting boundaries is gotta be uncomfortable because it's like riding a bike. You can use stabilizers by having something in your pocket to grab to when you're feeling that you're gonna crack and you're gonna end up saying yes. So having like specific things you really struggle to say no to, have something to support you so it gets easier and easier for you to say no. And also you don't have to give a reason to why you don't want to do things. Um, And I think that's kind of it. That's what I wanted to say. That's the big breakthroughs we've had with our vets in this course, the ones that are doing boundaries specifically. And we still got a month left. Like I think 5 weeks. They're moving so fast, and I do think it helps having some course material to support you and see how you can really like read the theory, see the videos I've recorded, and kind of apply it to yourself in real time, and then get coached on it. So I think that really helps. So that's definitely something I want to include in my one-on-one coaching. So you're definitely going to get some more structure. And if you don't think you have anything specific you need to learn, you're just generally unhappy and there's just a thousand things going on for you in vet med, it can also be a really nice structured way of doing it. So like week one we do this, week two we do that, and we can have a structure, and then at some point maybe something more individual will come up for you, and then we just coach specifically on that for a couple of weeks. It doesn't really matter, whatever works, and you can just watch two videos and watch 2 weeks of the whole course, and because you want to do that. But just having breakthrough after breakthrough and having like light bulb moments where you can see, oh shit, yeah, I do that all the time. Oh, so this is why. Oh, and this is how I deal with it. Then you trial it, and then you come to a coaching session, and then we can see what worked, what didn't work, and what more support you might need. So I'll definitely encourage you to sign up for a consult with me, and where we can look at where you would like to improve your life, as a vet, and what specific patterns do you have that you want to break, like the people pleasing, they're not setting boundaries, they're being afraid of going into work, having that anxiety, this like strive for perfectionism that doesn't go anywhere and just makes you feel worse and worse. Whatever it is you're dealing with, we can then look at it, and I can give you some things to work on. And then if you decide to work with me, and there's no pressure, then I will then send you all the material, we'll set it up, and we'll start coaching as you then do the worksheets in real time. I'm really excited about that. I think this is going to be a strong end of year. And that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was helpful with the boundaries, and I hope to have some feedback about how you're doing with boundaries in general. Remember, um, you can also fill out a little small questionnaire via the podcast, where you just ask me something, or tell me what you would like me to talk about, so I can really hone in on what you need the most. Yes, you. Exactly what you would like me to talk about, what you really need, and of course, anonymously, and I'll bring it up and I'll give a ton of examples, so you can really learn to turn that pattern around, or you can really get your question answered in a way that you can understand and apply to your life, the day-to-day vet life, and in the real world. Take care. Bye.